Ever feel like you're stuck living in a life that just isn't good enough? What if you could break through the ceiling and step into an extraordinary results? Today, we have a guest who doesn't just talk about transforming life, he shows you how. With a unique approach to human behavior, he's helped hundreds of thousands leave mediocrity behind and step into their greatness. If you're ready to level up in every aspect of your life, this episode is what you've been waiting for. So, welcome to Power Your Profits podcast. We're thrilled to introduce a powerhouse guest in a personal and professional development. Michael Bernoff is the founder of Human Connections and Human Communication Institute. He's not just a motivational speaker, he's a game changer of how people communicate and how we make our decisions. With his groundbreaking human interaction technology, or HIT, Michael has helped countless individuals tap into their untapped potential, increasing their charisma, influence, and confidence. He's the author and best-selling author of Average Sucks, where he challenges you to raise your personal average, achieve the life you truly desire. Get ready for an eye-opening conversation with the man who knows exactly how to unlock the psychological triggers that hold us back and pave the way for extraordinary success.
Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Dr. Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to take your first steps towards explosive business growth, this podcast is for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Dr. Susie.
All right, Michael. So, with all the noise in the economy and people fearful of the impending recession, fear seems to be driving, I know in my client base, a lot of decision making. And from your experience, how is fear affecting people's ability to take control of their financial future and their business future?
I'm going to say fear and its brother or sister stress has a lot of impact on a lot of things we do. I would say if we were working with a professional athlete, we would say, we don't want to scare this person. We don't want to create an ultimate level of fear inside this person. We want to eliminate a lot of that stress. Yet as an entrepreneur, and if we were to really just talk about ourselves as entrepreneurs for a second, not just the market we're marketing to, we live in an interesting place. It's called the world. I mean, it is just as violent as it was since the beginning of time, which means things happen. There's floods, there's lava pits, there's, people hurt each other, all kinds of stuff. We've learned through years, decades, and millennials and stuff, we've learned how to navigate this stuff. We've created sanitation, we got water, places to live, and we've gotten better. But at the end of the day, every entrepreneur knows there's ups and downs of things that happen. The difference is when we're dealing with what we'd call non-entrepreneurs or a buyer, whether it's a house or we're selling somebody a product, it could be a car, something else. If you don't have this entrepreneurial mind, we've got to step back and go, this person's maybe a little bit concerned. They're getting bombarded every which way from these freaking things, the phones and everything. We used to be able to hide on we could go on the freeway, listen to the station, and maybe if you were lucky, there's a billboard every 10 or 15 miles. Now it's 80 billboards in your face every second and your phone going off. So it is a real thing. It's something that'll have to be dealt with. Yet I will tell you, if you're an entrepreneur marketing to non-entrepreneurs, understand that it is real what they're feeling. And we have to be like a parent. We have to realize that, okay, this person doesn't have all the information yet. Maybe I got to be a little slower how I explain it, maybe a little peaceful about it, but we do have to educate them.
Right. You talk a lot about understanding the psychology behind human behavior. So why do you think people allow the distraction like the economic forecast or the election drama to paralyze them?
Oh, it's good.
I know, right?
It is. Listen, folks, I want you to listen. So I could go off the deep end on this. I would even tell you that politics is actually two predispositions of people more than it is actual politics. And there's a difference between politics and policy. Policy, I'm all for. Politics drives me insane. Politics is based off of fear and control. Policy is something that actually may matter to us, what we think about. So I would tell most people you want to separate those two things. But here's why. So I've been studying human psychology for 25 years, what makes people do the things they do. In our mind, this is very, very interesting. And there's a lot of companies at work that have figured this out. And I got a smirk on my face because I know them. And if you're listening, you know I know you. Your job is you get the mind, and it's simple. The mind is very simple. It's what controls the brain. The brain is the organism, and the mind is the operating system. And it's got one function: to keep you alive. Outside of that function, it's got two sub functions: looking for advantages and things to avoid. You're
Right.
always in life looking for advantages. What I mean by that is things you enjoy. So Netflix spends billions of dollars. So you say things like, I love Yellowstone. I love cheesecake, the store wants you to say. And as soon as you say those words, you're like, I wonder why I can't stop watching the show, because you took something that was a waste of your freaking time and you added a word love that they helped you add to it. So when I mentioned the word avoid a minute ago, is our minds always will lead towards the negative. And when I say towards the negative, is we're trained to look for anything that is scary, could be bad. You drive by a car wreck and you look at it, you're not a bad person. The reason you look at that car wreck is very, very simple, is because your mind is memorizing it so it doesn't happen to you. So I want to tell you, people aren't negative. Big companies know that if I want to get their attention, I'm going to scare the crap out of them. And when
Right.
they scare the crap out of you, I can't go away. I get glued to this TV or this phone. So that's the second grade version of where we can go with this.
Right. I love that you talk about like just the psychology of distraction because that's powerful. We
Yep.
don't we don't think about it as a
Yep.
psychology. We call it
Yep.
ADHD, we call it entrepreneurship,
Yep.
right?
Raising a family, but anything, right? Yeah.
All the things that are real, but we do have to break through the noise. So, what advice do you have for someone who's overwhelmed by that constant chatter about the economy or the election? And how do we break through the noise?
Dude, you wouldn't have watched this. So here's what's crazy. Like, I am telling you, we were done with the media. You and I talked about this before. Like, we were
Okay.
done. Like, it was done. Like, the news was for my parents, and that was it. It was
Yeah.
gone. Like, cigarettes were gone. And then
Right.
about 10 years ago, vaping came and it started making smoking attractive, and people started smoking again. In 2020, when I don't use the C word for the what happened, but like the year that didn't show up the way I wanted it to. That's why I like to be more positive, because every time you say the P word or the C word, you, they're winning because you're talking more about the fear. I call it the year that didn't show up the way I expected. Then we
Right.
all got glued to our TVs. It was an election year, and they reprogrammed us along with the timing of these things that are going on that are bringing it to us. So number one is anything bad enough. When I first got into direct sales at 19 years old, I remember being from a network marketing young. I was in college. They said, get rid of all your negative friends. And they said, turn off the TV. There's nothing good on there. So bad that I literally picked up my TV, moved in the other room, and ripped the coaxial out by accident, right? So the TV broke. They said anything bad enough that you need to know about, somebody's going to tell you. I was sleeping during September 11th. I got woken up. I didn't need to watch the news. Somebody told me. If I
Right.
went out that day, and let's say I was naive, there was no phones back then, I would have been at the grocery store. Somebody somewhere would have told me. So here's the deal. You're not getting news. And news stands for north, east, west, south. Most people don't know, which is the full control of your brain. Okay. Which most people don't recognize is that the media is designed to do your thinking for you and with you. Okay. Not to give you free thought and free thinking. So I want you to give you a little check. When's the last time you actually got really useful information? You didn't. And I'm going to tell you, the books behind me, the bookshelf's going to serve you because that gives you your own thoughts. So I will tell everybody watching this, I know you've heard this before, stop watching the news. But what I mean it isn't just watching the news these days. It isn't just watching the media. It's not even having those conversations about the election. They're not going anywhere other than making you feel heard and validated. So if all you want to do is be heard and validated, congratulations, you're a 9-year-old. Okay. But if you want a 9-figure business, we got to stop trying to be validated and stop trying to be heard.
Well, I love that because I, like you, I don't watch the news. I don't participate in it because it doesn't fill my
Opt
soul
out.
for me, right? But make me cranky. It makes me cranky. So,
And the more cranky you are, the easier you are to control.
right. So many believers believe that uncertainty is the reason for the slowdown. But you've spoken about the idea of leveraging the uncertain time to take it to our advantage. So, how do we flip the script and how do we actually make more money?
Are we talking about real estate as a whole?
Yes, we're talking about
Okay.
real estate business, all of
Right.
it.
So here's the deal. Your competition's taking a nap right now. I'm not telling you all your competition, but I would tell you a lot of people are taking a nap right now. They're sidelining what's going on and they're missing it. They're missing the market. They're missing and it's going to switch. Like there was a moment that the interest rates were 17% back in the 70s, and then there was a time they went to 6%. There was a moment when they were 3%. People missed it. There's a moment where they're going to be 7.79. And I'm going to tell you, the last couple of days, I don't know when this goes out, they've dropped a point. And the reason is we're going to miss it. So as a business owner, I remember I started doing investing, traditional investing in the market, about 15 years ago. And I said to this lady, I've just got new. I'm like, well, it's up, it's down. She goes, you can't look at it every day. It's going to be up and down a lot over the course of investing. Now, Michael, if we're going to invest for 25 years, I can help you. But if we're only going to invest for 25 minutes, it's not going to work. So we've got to look at the whole of everything. There's going to be years at 3%, years at 7, years at 12, years at 15, years that are easy, years that are hard, and it's all going to average out. Everything I wrote in my book, Average Sucks, is really about the average that controls what it is that we do. So over the course, let's say you're a realtor, whether an investor, you're showing, you're listing, whatever it is you're doing, or you sell cars, doesn't really matter. You have an average of how many you sell, how many you show, what it is you do. So our job is not how to have more better days and not as many worse days. It's how do we take the average of what we do, 6 showings a month, 15 deals a year, and how do we make the average that we've averaged the last 5 or 6 years 10 or 12% more? As we make our average go up in everything we do, everything gets to shift. And I think if I was selling houses right now, I would tell people, I said, listen, it's a high right now. It's going to be a low one day too. And over the course of, if you're only going to own the home a year, I would wait. Does that make sense? But if you're going to live there 5 or 10 years, over the course of 10 years, there's going to be 7 places that you can refi this. It's just, the question is, do you want to enjoy your life living in the house you want? Or do you want to say, I got a good deal? And a lot of people just want, you know how a good deal happens? You buy the house you want. And then a few years later, you refi it at the right rate and you got yourself a freaking deal. And I guarantee no realtors ever said that to anybody, but that is the truth, isn't it? You want a good deal?
Absolutely.
Live in the house you want to live in, pay a little more now. And when the rates go down, you rip it off the market. Boom, done.
Well, I love it. That's you saying mindset over markets, right? That's being
Yep.
strategic about your mental shift, why you're doing it, how you're doing it.
Yep.
So let's look at creating the opportunity in chaos. Because in business,
Yep.
I think, I know when my numbers are down or when my leads are down, it's because I was lazy. I turned it off for a minute. I was
So I got to challenge you. Are your numbers down or that's what's currently happening?
No, my numbers are down because I got
Okay.
distracted. And,
Got it.
and
Oh,
we
oops,
forget
squirrel.
everything, right? I took
Squirrel. Squirrel.
sabbatical and I'm like, I don't want to. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, now I have to, right?
Mhm.
So there is like what you put in, what you get out. And that's why the analytics are so important. But a lot of it is mindset, right? If my mindset's not in that place of wanting to create abundance, wanting to create prosperity, or I don't have somebody like you or somebody like me supporting them and just doing that check from the neck up,
Yep.
then it's easy to get sucked into the noise or the comfortability of not doing it.
So this is going to go deep right now. It's going to be really fun. So
Yeah.
I never understood what my challenge was in life and why I had this idea in my heart, idea in my head, and what showed up in life or did not look at all what I thought I was capable of. I could not figure it out. I'd be as motivated as anybody to go and do it and make it happen. For some reason, it didn't show up the way I wanted. And I got a great life. I do very well. I get a great business. I own real estate. I own an institute. I've got events, seminars. I mean, I'm not saying this, but what's in here and in here and what shows up out there, they're not the same. And what I realized is it's like that for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. I promised Michael Jordan back in the day, what showed up in here and then what showed up here, they were not the same. So
Right.
it isn't just about having the appropriate mindset. It's really understanding where our mindset comes from. And for the majority of us, we built a mindset in the past, meaning what we thought was a good idea at a period of time, we developed for ourselves and we take ourselves very literally. So there was a day that you said, I never want to work for anyone ever again. We all do that. And we go, I want to be my own boss. I want to make 6 figures. You were 20 years old and you said it. And then you're 30 years old and going, why am I making 6 figures? I know I should be making 7 figures. But
Right.
you decided that when you were pissed off and mad one day. And then this is the crazy part. We recruit people and scenarios to make us right and to make our reality stick. So what I mean by that is I'm going to challenge all of you to understand this, that I take full ownership to everything in my life. I truly take ownership. Like I picked my parents. I truly believe I picked my parents. I picked the womb. This is crazy. It's either that or I could bitch and complain. So I
Right.
picked my parents. I truly believe I picked the people that I needed. I'm also blessed to be born at this time in my life. I want to get better. What a great time to be alive when the whole world is going crazy to use our skills on communication and influence. So why am I saying this?
You're listening to another episode of Power Your Profits podcast. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Are you tired of pouring resources into strategies that don't work? Say hello to Dr. Susie Carder, your future fractional COO. With Dr. Susie in your corner, your business can skyrocket to 7 figures and beyond. With a track record of creating thriving businesses, trust that you are in good hands. Head over to coo.poweryourprofits.com and let us put some magic into your business growth. Overwhelmed by the complexity of business profit strategies? Jump aboard the Bullet Train to Big Profits course, a streamlined solution by Dr. Susie Carder. This course is designed to uncomplicate the path to profitability. Imagine being able to identify and execute profit strategies with ease, skyrocketing your revenues. Visit course.poweryourprofits.com and sign up for the Bullet Train to Big Profits course today.
I truly believe if you're willing to accept this, you need to grow, which means you need to get better and you need to be challenged. So what a great way to be challenged through a challenging market. When other people are quitting, when there's doubt around you, put you in the fires of hell, as we say, is how we become heavenly at what it is that we do. So I'm going to tell you that whatever we're dealing with right now truly creates an incredible scenario for us. And the whole idea with the market and the distractions, we ask for those. Why we ask for distractions, why we ask for our friends to invite us for Super Bowl, even if we didn't ask them, we need them so we can stay our average, and our average sucks. That's not just promotion for my book. That is a promotion to destroy what we were trained as middle-class kids to get past being like everyone else and start being what we're capable of.
Let's just drop the mic. Boom.
Boom.
Oh, well, I want to reiterate what you said was Dale Carnegie did a study and he said there's only 6 ways to build trust.
Yep.
And number 3 was agreement pacing, which is what you talked about.
Yep.
You tell somebody 3 relevant things that he or she knows or believes to be true. The 4th thing you say will be accepted without question. Right. And that's what you're saying. Like if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it must be a duck. Right. So looking at it from a psychology standpoint to go, there's study behind it. We're not just saying this to say it, right? There's psychologists that have studied it for years. So let's talk a little bit about the book, because I think that the title's catchy, right? It is amazing and juicy. So let's talk about it and talk about why, right? Because some people, I love to read and I love to feel the book in my hand.
Me too. Tactile. Yeah. Feel it.
Yeah. I don't do Kindles. I don't like to do it online because I feel like I'm working. But if I get a book, I feel like it's such an indulgence to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold that thought on the book. I'm gonna add one thing to what you just said here real quick, because I think this will help everybody. If you want to stop watching the news or listen to things you shouldn't listen to, all these people have been psychologically trained by someone like myself on grabbing rapport, connection, actually controlling your mind. I don't work for the bad guys. I only work for the good guys. They ask me all the time. I will not work for the Metas. I will not work for Fox, NBC, CNN, ABC, all the bad guys. Okay. I only work for entrepreneurs and people that want to grow, because if not, Amazon's going to take over our lives. So I want you to listen. Go watch the news one day, and I promise you they're going to do the 3 truths, and then they're going to take over your mind. They're going to say, hello, Arizona. Welcome to Channel 10. We're glad you're here this evening. Now, I've just told you 3 things that are true. You're about to get the important news. Now, if they would have said at the beginning, you're about to get I'm not flipping you off, it's the other finger. You're about to get the important news at the beginning, you would have had resistance up. They strategically do that. So if you want to know that you're being manipulated, go watch any of those shows. They do it at the beginning to get you into a pacing and lead marathon that never ends and you can never go away. So let's talk about the book.
Let's talk about it, right? So let's talk about why it's different, why now, why you want to have this conversation, right, at this time, because I think it is critical. And I love that you talk about our generation and what we grew up with, because there was nobody taught me how to be this way. I taught myself. I'm like, I don't want that, right? But there wasn't the manual to go, how do I be extraordinary?
They didn't have that. I mean, I wrote the book. So when I wrote the book Average Sucks, I sat down with a publisher, and a good friend of mine, he sold like 10 million copies of his book. And I sat at his house, and for 9 years I thought about writing this book, and I couldn't get it out. I had spoke all over the world. I've spoke to hundreds of thousands of people. I couldn't write the book because I identified as like a 9-year-old boy that didn't like school. And to actually get the book done, which means I had to have been wrong my entire life that I am capable of great things. So I had to like fight myself for 9 years. I sat down on the couch. He almost threw me out of his house. Very successful publisher. And he basically said to me, because Michael, I got 2 types of books you can write. One to make you feel important, or one that people actually read. What will be more impactful? I said, I want to write one people read. I want to write this with ADD in mind, that somebody could pick it up and wind up at page 100. So the book is a story about the lies that we tell ourselves, that we believe that we can't do things that we can do, based on bad advice that we got from our parents. My parents, I grew up a middle-class kid in New Jersey, right in the middle, never saw any wealthy people. I went to the Short Hills Mall where the rich people lived. I'd say, Daddy, how do you get a car like that? He'd say, work hard and be a good person. So I go into business for myself with that stupid plan of work hard and be a good person. And I drove myself stressed and insane. What I didn't realize was I am capable of more. I did have the skills inside, but I also had to accept that I had to grow as a person. And I realized that my life was designed to be average. I was designed to do well, to get by, to be okay, and to accept that okay was enough and have a nice couple vacations and do well. The book is for people that are willing to say that enough is not enough, and that they're willing to grow into the full version of themselves. And it calls out the idea that most of us are trained to look up to others. I tell people to only look up to themselves. We can admire the skill of others, but I spend my life looking up going, wow, Wayne Gretzky, wow, Michael Jordan, wow, Mike Tyson. Dude, if you would have looked up to you, you'd have been better off. So I'm going to say, like, I'm 6'7". And if a guy said to me once, he goes, how tall are you? I go, I'm 5'6". He goes, and it goes, I go, I'm 6'7". He goes, you act 5'6". I go, what do you mean? He goes, if you were only 5'6", that would be okay. But because you're 6'7", you haven't grown into your full capacity. So I believe human beings need to grow into who they're capable of being. And when you grow into your capable of being, it is amazing what you can do. So the book's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for the lower, upper, and the middle class group, which is 80% of people that will read it in America, Canada, and most of the world. It's also in a bunch of different countries. And it's designed to call them out and go, is enough enough? And it's not being better than others. Are you willing to get the call and be what you're capable of being?
Well, and what I love is this can be taught, right? You and I taught ourselves. Nobody gave it to us. Nobody taught us how to do it. Our generation didn't have this conversation in school or anyone around us. I know I certainly didn't. And I love that you wrote with ADHD in mind, or ADD in mind. We all as entrepreneurs have most of it, some of it, all the DDs, all the isms, right? That's what makes us amazing and incredibly unique.
Yep.
Is there anything I should have asked you, Michael, that you want us to know?
There's always things you could ask. I guess the big question is, like, I think the question is, like, whether it's a step or an idea or anything. If you want me to help or heal or help anybody with anything, you give me a scenario and I can solve it here in a couple seconds.
That is juicy. So let's talk about then, just let me give you one, right?
This is called throw me under the bus and see if I get myself out. Let's see what happens.
No, it's not too bad, right?
I'll take whatever. You give it to me. I've heard it all.
My clients' egos, right? So I deal with entrepreneurs that are in the 8-9 figure, and their egos arrive before they arrive. How do you dismantle that so that they can be in a place of vulnerability and coachability?
Yeah. So one of the things I talk about ego is created by Sick Man Fraud. I always make a joke. I call him Sick Man Fraud because we listen to this guy, Sigmund Freud. And a lot of times an ego, people think it's a big arrogant ego. That's not the ego you got to be worried about. The real ego you got to be worried about is believing that you're better than you are. And most people don't get a chance to grow. So what I usually call people out, and I ask them, how great of a communicator are you? Or how influential are you? How great of a dad are you? Or whatever. And they're going to tell like out of scale of 10, 8 or 10. Okay. And then I take the ultimate example. So I would say, like, how good, like, let me ask you, how great are you at sales? Susie, how great are you at sales?
I'd say I'm an 8.
Great. Compared to Bobby Axelrod and Billions, how good are you?
I'd say I'm a 2.
Okay, good. So wouldn't it make more sense to be a 2 and have the room to grow to be an 8 than have to be an 8 today? Which is more important for you to be an 8 today or to realize that you can go from a 2 to an 8 and you get to be a billionaire? You have to pick.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how I do that is I help people create what's called an additional scale. So where an ego gets created is we play in a very small pond. Now, there's a difference between narcissism and ego. We're not going to compare the two because they're not the same thing.
Right.
Narcissism is high level insecurity that masks itself as a control mechanism, where an ego is we want to be great. So what I train people how to do is the day your life changes is when you look in the mirror and go, you know what? I'm actually not as good as I think I am. And that's okay, which means there's room to grow. So when people ask me, how great of a speaker are you? Great. And then I'm like, oh, I'm a 12 out of 12 compared to Billy Graham back in the day selling out Yankee Stadium. Nope. I'm a 1. Okay. Because there's stuff we need to grow. And I don't know what made me think of him. I don't know what, but you get the concept. Where did that name come from?
I don't know, but he had a stadiums full, so maybe
You and I don't have Shea Stadium sold out, so we're not that great yet. So
You're
it
not.
doesn't mean he's better, which means there's room to grow.
Right. I love that because you're speaking from a place of we compare ourselves to where I'm at versus the potential. Like we're always looking at where do I want to go, but that was just a great little shift.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is the scenario. We typically will compare to where we were so we can be proud of ourselves. And this is a whole nother topic. We can have another day. I'm flying up to Vegas to speak for a real estate group on Sunday to have this discussion about the inner child and the
Yeah.
future self.
Yeah.
And most people want to quench the inner child because theirs is in pain. So, meaning we want to say to ourselves, look how good I'm doing versus, of course I am. Like for years, I couldn't figure out why my wife never told me great job. Like, Shaq's like my dad never tells me good job. And then one day I'm on an event on stage, I go, holy shit, I get it.
Right.
She wouldn't be with me if I was a loser. So,
Right.
so the thing is, a lot of us are not willing to realize that we don't need a pat on the back. The pat on the back is actually slowing us down. We need a group of people that see our best and force us to be our best.
This has been so juicy, right? What an incredible conversation. We covered everything from distraction, the economy. We talked on the election noise,
Yep.
the power of leveraging uncertainty and breaking through the mental barriers, right? All this in a short amount of time, right? About what's happening outside of us. It's been happening inside our minds. And
Yep.
now we can look at how do we harness that one with getting the book, right? Average Sucks.
Yep.
So if this resonated with you, please dive deeper into Michael's work by picking up a copy of his book
Yep.
first. That's part of due diligence, right?
Yep.
And going,
Check me out.
check him out, right? I told him, I said, before this interview, we must stalk you.
I appreciate it. And I'll tell you, this is the way I look at books. You go to Amazon, you can go to averagesucks.com. You go there, you can get a shirt too. These are great prospecting tools. But this is why I'm going to say this. This is good for not even for me. Anytime you're marketing a book, you should not buy a book. You should say, I'm going to pick this up, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to turn it into 10 grand. And most people don't look at a book that way. They're like, oh, I wonder what I'll get out of it. I walk up to a book and go, I'm going to make this 5 or 10 grand. I'm going to make this 15,000 bucks. I'm going to make this 2 grand. I'm an investor everywhere I go. So when I buy a book for 25 bucks, I'm going to make it at least 2,500.
Right. Amen. Right. So remember, in uncertain times, the biggest mistake is we allow our fear and the distraction to stop us. You have the power to thrive no matter what circumstance. Right. And that's why we're here to help you with this podcast so that you can meet amazing people like Michael. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe, review, share this episode because somebody needs this. Maybe you don't, but somebody needs to hear Michael's message. And I'm a stand that we find the right people at the right time that need our message. Keep powering your profits and building your business and building that life you deserve. It's a choice. Remember, this doesn't have to be hard. It does have to be strategic. Michael, you are a blessing. Thank you for choosing and thrive and using your power for good versus evil, because I know that stand. You're awesome, my brother. Have an amazing day. And again, please visit Michael on all his social channels so that you can follow this message, follow this conversation, and be in the conversation of shifting where you were to where you want to be.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at www.poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game. So be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.